Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. As you can hear, my voice is a little bit on the rough side, but it's not too bad, so I think we're going to go ahead with today's video. Baseball testing is over, so now we're going to venture to a horror universe as we play the Plum Island Horror from GMT Games. In this game, we're trying to save Plum Island, and potentially the entire world, by controlling multiple factions that are threatening to overrun Plum Island. I'm still learning this game as well, so it may be a touch on the rough side. Any constructive criticism is welcome in the comments below. Now, as far as what's bringing this game to the channel, this is actually Matthew's pick from the Greatest Boxer Tournament in Title Bout 2 last year. For a little bit of backstory on what I mean by that, I was needing to run a little bit of a bracket contest with our own kind of bracketology thing from March Madness, and I had a predictions contest where, based on a point system on how the tournament went, whoever won that contest would get to pick a game. I wasn't eligible for that because it was my contest, and that bracket was pretty terrible anyway. My bracket was pretty terrible, so I wouldn't have won the tournament anyway. Matthew won the tournament, and this was his pick, so we're going to go ahead and make good on this pick, as I was planning on doing it in the first half of the year anyway. So, with that, let's go through today's factions. I'm playing I'm playing solo, and I'm controlling two factions for that. So, let's go meet our first faction. A lot of information on these sheets, so we'll take it nice and slow. First up, we've got the leader, Chief Lee Hartman, with 1 in close combat, that's 2 in ranged combat, 3 in admin rating, 3 in bravery, 2 movement, and 5 in vehicular movement. His leader ability, ex-drill instructor. If this unit is with or adjacent to any of its faction units, increase both the close combat and ranged combat rating of those faction units by +1. 4 health, so we'll track everything on the faction mat. And we'll point out where everybody is at the start before we get into the game. In fact, let me turn this one. Actually, I'm going to turn a couple of these so they're a little more visible to the camera. I'm looking at the units on the board, and I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit there. So our next unit for the Plum Island Constabulary is Commander Arnie Stallion. 2 close combat, 3 ranged, 1 bravery, 4 admin, 1 foot movement, 3 vehicular movement. Shoot and scoot. When conducting a ranged combat action only, this unit may also move 1 area for free. This can be done before or after the combat resolution. 6 health. Then we've got Francis Dreb in the Detective Squad. 1 close combat, 2 ranged combat, 2 bravery, 3 admin, 2 foot movement, 4 vehicular movement. His special ability is Clue Finders. When doing a search location action with this unit, you may draw 2 search cards instead of 1, and choose 1 to use. Discard the unused card. 4 health there. Then we've got a canine unit in Chase. 3 close combat, 1 ranged, 4 bravery, 5 admin, 3 foot movement, 4 vehicular movement. Special action is a great sense of smell. This costs 1 action. Unit may forage 1 supplies and decontaminate 1 level from its current area, even if the necessary icons are not present. This won't exhaust the area. 4 health on Chase. Next up, we have Officer Joseph Friday, the patrol officer. 3 close combat, 2 ranged combat, 5 bravery, 4 admin, 2 foot movement, 5 vehicular movement. Respect my authority. When this unit conducts a crowd control action, pick one of 2. Either point the way, each civilian's unit moves 2 areas, or escort. This unit moves along with one of the civilians during their crowd control move. 5 health. We won't go through the paddy wagon on the compound until that becomes relevant, until we build that. So that's it for the Plum Island Constabulary. Now let's go meet our other faction. Our other faction today is the Greenport Township that we're playing with. First we've got Andrew Mayberry, the mayor. 1 close combat, no ranged, 5 bravery, 2 admin, 2 foot movement, 4 ranged or 4 vehicular movement. Leader ability is speeches. If this unit is with or adjacent to any of its faction units, increase both the admin and bravery of those faction units by +1 for all purposes, however, never more than 5. He's got 3 health. Then we've got Dr. Doug House, the EMT. 2 close combat, 3 bravery, 3 admin, 1 foot movement, 5 vehicular movement. Expert triage is his special ability. When this unit uses its heal ability or provides its heal ability for another unit to use, 2 hits may be removed instead of just 1. So we do need to keep an eye on that. Then we've got Ed Cramden, the Transit Authority. 2 close combat, 4 bravery, 2 admin, 2 foot movement, 6 vehicular movement, and buses. Units may pick up and drop off any player or civilian's unit, not compound, during its vehicular move action only. Only 1 unit can be carried at a time, but any number can be picked up and dropped off during the move. He's got 4 health. Ralph Norton is up next, our sanitation department. 3 close combat, 2 bravery, 3 admin, 1 foot movement, 3 vehicular movement, the right tools. When doing a repair action with this unit, you may draw 2 fate numbers instead of 1, and apply both results 1 at a time. Also, always treat a draw of 1 as no effect. 5 health on him. And last up, Fire Marshal Bill LaFlamme, Firefighters. 4 close combat, star ranged combat, which will be explained it looks like. 4 bravery and admin. 2 foot movement, 4 vehicular movement. Fire hoses. Unit uses special ranged combat number. Pay 1 supplies in water and draw a fate number. 1, no effect. 2 to 5, push the number of horror tiles. Mutations count as 1 tile, equal to fate number of the adjacent area and make them stunned. 6, push all horror tiles adjacent area and make them stunned. Pushes don't cause new combats or amalgamations. 5 health there, and the surplus armory once again will go through compounds when those become relevant. So, with that all set, now we can move up to the board and see where everything looks. And see how everything looks. Looks like we can roughly see everything here. Yes, I know the board isn't perfectly flat. I was trying to get it a little bit flatter last night, but this isn't too bad from the looks of it. I've had some where it's been really puffed up, but this, like I said, this isn't terrible. We do have a little bit of setup we need to finish, though. I did the damage markers because I forgot about those last night, but as far as bridge damage goes, we'll need to get, is it a fate number, and we'll consult this bridge damage table. So the fate number we're going to draw here is fate number 2, which means we'll place a damage 2 marker on each of the following. So we're going to place it on, that's a 2, so we place it on bridges 4, 5, and 7. They're these numbered bridges. Where are they? I see 9. I see 6 and 9. Why do I not see any of the others? On each of the following bridges. Oh, here we go. I think I was looking for the green bridges. So 4, it's a damage 2. 5 and 7. And another 2 in the Great South Bay Bridge. So that's got 4 damage on it, which will need to get repaired in nothing flat. Alright, then we've got first contact. So now, before players begin the game, they must determine where first contact with the horrors of Plum Island occurs. As a final step, yada yada yada, the murderer's horror stacks will move forward until contact with the player unit or civilian's unit is made. So we're going to begin flipping fate cards, referencing the only the activate sections of each card. So we'll flip another fate card and we'll find activate tracks 1 and 6. So we're going to activate track 1 and track 6. Then we flip another fate card. So we'll flip activate track 1. So we're going to have one horrors unit end up in contact with a civilian's unit, which I believe is going to bring us straight into combat. We'll double check how that works. If a horror if horrors attack in an area that only has civilian units in it, which they are up here. So a horror will inflict based on the number of tiles in the stack. So that looks like a building area, so the modifier is 1/4. Number of hits inflicted is the number of tiles in the murder of horrors stack divided by 4 rounded up. So that'll be 1 hit. And alright, so I believe, do they just take out the... I think the horrors unit would just take out the civilian unit, wouldn't it? That sure seems like what would happen to me. Let's see. Will inflict... That only has civilian units in it. Okay, so... It's still not really telling me civilian units are ignored if player units are present, but we've got no player units present in this area. So... Yeah, the way it seems like here, what it seems like, even though the number is going to be calculated. Alright, civilian. Okay, so civilian units can't defend themselves in combat and don't roll any combat dice. Okay, so we do need to roll. Still trying to figure out how we roll for the horror damage. I think we still roll for it normally, don't we? After determining the amount of damage that the horrors will inflict. Okay, so it looks like they will inflict 1 hit. And I think it does just take out the civilian unit there. So that first unit's gone, which means we are losing. We're losing Wiley Brothers Bar and Grill. So I'll grab another cup so I can keep the... Actually, we can probably just return this to the box, honestly. So I think that just gets taken out. Which means now that we've made first contact, now we should shuffle everything back in, I believe. Yep, players take all the fate cards that were drawn for the Bridge Storm and first contact and shuffle them back into the fate pile. So we'll give the fate deck another shuffle. Okay. I think we're all set there, so now we should be all set to get into this game, so let's drop into our first round. Before we jump into this game, it'd probably be mildly helpful to know how we win or lose the game. There are 3 ways we can lose the game. The first is if the island becomes a toxic wasteland. Off shot over here, I'm going to be keeping track of a biohazard track. We'll take a quick look at the track over here. We'll zoom in on that. So we've got the biohazard track, which indicates the number of units that will spawn and how big a stack will be when a new stack spawns. If the biohazard level ever gets to 17, we just lose the game on the spot. The island has become overrun, has become too toxic. If the overrun track gets to 8 points, which that'll happen at when an overrun level. Let's see, that'll happen when an area is overrun. So the overrun areas are going to be at what did we say? Enters the 8, actually, so 7 overrun areas located at each end. Okay, they're denoted by yellow markers. I'll point that out when we go back over to the board. So if the island gets overrun, then we lose the game. If we also have to evacuate a minimum number of civilians. We have to evacuate at least 26 points worth of civilians and then win the game. So that civilian that we lost at the start of the game, let's see if it'll focus in for me. So the civilian we lost had a point value of 1. That's probably not going to hurt too much in the grand scheme of things, but if we had lost a 3 right away, that would have hurt. And then if one faction has its units eliminated from the game, the players lose the game. If by some miracle we don't meet the horror victory conditions after conducting the final biohazard infection step, then we win the game. So we can move back over to the main board. We'll zoom back out. And the way we determine player order in this game, Herman Lutman, who's the designer of this game, has made no bones about the fact that he took this mechanic for the way he's doing turn order in this game from one of my very favorite deck builders of all time, in Ann's End. We've got a bag full of tokens in here that we're going to be drawing from. It's very similar to the turn order deck that Ann's End uses. So it's going to be the exact same idea. We'll draw a token out of here, and then whatever faction comes out will go, or we could have fate or event effects. So our first effect here. Alright, so the Plum Island Constabulary will get to act first. So the way this works is when we have a faction token, the number of player actions is based on the current round. We're in the first round of the game, so each faction will get to take 1 action. Crisis Adrenaline, each player can do a free foot move. Well, looks like Friday's out here in the Old Republic airport, so I think he wants to stay put there. We might need to repair that area. I could potentially have Drebin come down here and see what we can come down to the island-wide light and power and see what we can do about repairing that. Let's see what the benefit of repairing that is. We would get a lot of supplies when it's repaired, so that could be... Actually, that would give each player a 5 supply marker. That would actually be really good. So I think he will move down here, so we can try to repair that. Chase is going to stay put. Hartman's going to stay put as well. And I think... Oh, we've got Stallion over here. He's got ranged combat, but... I think we're going to have him stay put. And then for the 1 action for the player, I think we're going to have Drebin try to repair that island-wide... try to repair the light and power plant. So... the way we're going to do that is we're going to draw a fate number and consult the repair table. So the fate number we draw is a 5. That's actually really good, I think. Yep, you got skills. For each damaged area or bridge, remove damage markers equal to the admin rating of the unit. So the admin rating for Drebin is a 2, I believe. Yep, it's a 2, so we get to remove the 2 damage marker from island-wide light and power. So that was actually a really good start of the turn. So that was Drebin's 1 action, which means we go back into the bag again. This time we'll find... Uh-oh. That's a fate card, which means we're going to be We're going to be spawning and activating. So let me just double check how this works. All right. So our fate card here. We're going to be spawning We're going to be spawning a new 3 stack of horrors at least. Oh boy, we got a chaos spawn. So do we draw... Okay, unless... Okay, we'll spawn murdered horror stacks on... Okay, set the first card aside, draw 2 more fate cards, and check each of their fate numbers. Okay, so we checked... So now we're drawing 2 fate cards. First up, we're spawning on track 2, and I believe when they happen like that... After resolving the... Okay, so we're spawning a 3 stack on track 2. I think they just amalgam together now, don't they? I've got to double check that. So, are spawned in... Okay, murder horror tiles located in the same area, always grouped together and act as one big group, referred to as a stack. So that's now a 7 stack on track 2. That's going to be a problem. New murder horror tiles, they're amalgamated together. I think there'll be an effect that will force them into... That'll force them to mutate eventually. So that was our first card there. Our next fate number... is track 4, so we'll have another 7 stack. That's fun. So that was track 4. And now we activate tracks 1 and 2. So, right, now we go back to the activate area. So we activate track 1. Since that's a stack of 3, that will move 3 spaces. 1, since that's damaged, I believe it would just go 2, 3. And then 2 was the other track. Since that's a giant stack, that's now got 7, it'll move 1 space. So that's it there. Yowza, we've got a 3 stack already coming up. We may need to send somebody over to try to deal with that 3 stack right away. I'm hoping we can get the Greenport Township to go next. But let's see what happens here. Alright. And we've got another fate card. That's wonderful. So now we're drawing another fate card. We find... another chaos spawn. Are you kidding me? Alright, so we're spawning another stack of horrors. We're spawning at... First we're at track 1, which is still a 3 stack. And our second draw is track 3. So we've got another 7 stack coming down from track 3. That's delightful. And then since I can see it, so that's track 3. So that's another 7 stack. Since I can see the activate card from here, we're activating tracks 5 and 6. So 5 will move 1, 2, 3. 6 has a choice of where it can move to. So I believe we draw a fate number and resolve where it moves based on that, right? I'm just looking here. Multiple horrors, yada yada yada. I would assume that that's how that works. Number of areas will only follow the indicated black areas. So yeah, I think... Yeah, I think when you see a number on the... I think when you see numbers, you get a fate... When you've got multiple choices, you draw a fate number and determine where it moves based on that. At least that's what makes the most sense to me. So that's what I'm going to go with. So we're going to draw a fate number here, and we'll find fate 2. So it's going to be, so that stack is going to be moving toward, towards 6C, which means now we have a close combat with Commander Stallion. So we'll just check how combat works here. Determine attack matchups. So we've got the horror unit and player unit will resolve one close combat against each other. Horror potential, it's in a building area, so modifier of 1/4. Number of hits inflicted is equal to the number of tiles in the murder of horror stack divided by 4 rounded up. So that will be inflicting potentially 1 hit. And we'll potentially be doing 1 hit as well. So the amount of damage that the players inflict. So we roll a number of combat dice equal to the bravery. Actually, it's the close combat rating. So now we need the dice tower in shot. So I'll put it right. Oh, we never had a combat for the. We never had a combat for this unit when we activated it. It'll just take out this second unit, and it's taking out leading edge graphics. Okay, so that's a unit of 2, which could hurt us potentially. Okay, now back to placing the dice tower. I think we're going to put that down here. All right, so Stallion's got 2 dice. We've got these special dice. We'll go through the modifiers and the results of what actually comes up from that. So we'll roll for this. All right, that's a critical hit, I believe. So yep, inflict 1 hit on the horrors unit, plus the player rolls this die only again. So we inflict 1 hit on the horror, and then we'll re-roll that die. And nothing happening there. So no effect. Okay, so hits are applied simultaneously, which also means Stallion will take 1 hit. Right? Yes, Stallion will take 1 hit. He's got 6 health left. He's got 5 health left, I should say. All right. Fortunately, it ignored the civilians unit there. We may need to use the constabularies next turn to try to shuffle those civilians away. But let's go back to the turn order bag and see what comes out next. Our next token coming out is the Plum Island Constabulary. So that means we've got both of the Greenport Township units left in there. So I think everybody's going to stay put, and I believe Stallion is stuck since he's in combat with the. With that murder of horrors. At least once again, that would make the most sense to me. So close combat is not automatic. Player still needs to use a combat action to attack. Okay, a player unit may leave an area. Still, I think we're going to leave him there because I want to try to shuffle the. I might actually use a crowd control action to get the. I might try to use a crowd control to get those civilians out of there. Move some civilians units 1 area each if in the same area with the active unit. So I will activate Stallion here. We'll get those civilians out of there and he'll move with them. So we'll get them out of there. That way combat doesn't just go sideways for them. So now we need to go into the bag once again. And here we'll find another fate token. Delightful. At least the bag's empty of those now. So now we draw another fate token, or another fate card. How about not another chaos spawn this time? Okay, so we spawn on track 3. That is a gigantic stack on. So we've got another 3 stack. That stack 3 is massive at this point. Alright, then we have a surge, so we draw a fate number, which means we activate the track number equaling the drawn fate number twice. Delightful. So now we're activating track 3 twice, which fortunately for us is actually not that catastrophic, because that means this big stack of horrors is moving 1 and then 2 for its second activation, so we get away with 1 there. I believe that empties the bag of fate tokens now, which means we've got the impending Doom event and both of the Greenport Township tokens left in there. So we'll draw our next token out. And of course we pull the impending Doom out, so that means we're going to be drawing an event card. So let's see what our event says here. Brutal Brawl at the Docks. If there are any civilians units in the Greenport Docks, area 3K, half of them rounded up are eliminated. Players choose which units are eliminated. Let's see, 3K, there is a civilians unit there. So half of them rounded up, which means we lose the 1 here, so we're losing Luke's Use the Force Comics. Interesting names. That's a value of 1. We do need to keep an eye on the civilians on the board, though. If that total ever drops below 26, we won't be able to win. In fact, I'm gonna grab a spin at one of my dials so I can track the current civilian total of units on the board, because I want to be able to see that at a glance. Because if that total ever drops below 26, then there's no point in continuing the game. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 16, 19, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3. So 43 total point values worth of civilian units on the board. Like I said, if that ever drops below 26, then I'm just going to tap out, because at that point the game will physically be unwinnable. So that was a pretty rough event. And I think our last 2 tokens here, yep, we've got the Greenport Township coming out. So I think I think they're all good as is. And I'm going to have Dr. House try to do a little bit of repair on the Good Samaritan Hospital so I can get that chopper online right away. Which means we're going to draw a fate number for that. And our fate number this time is a 6, which I believe is good. For a damaged area or bridge, remove all damaged markers regardless of their value. For a disabled unit, flip it to its regular operational side. So we've repaired the hospital, which I believe means we bring the AirMed chopper back online, so we can use that now to start evacuating, right? An area with both a helipad and a helicopter unit, plus 1 or more civilian units. Alright, so just to remove the suspense, indeed we've got the Greenport Township coming out. I think we're all good here, so with that I think we will go ahead and use House to evacuate the first civilians, so our first civilians that we're evacuating. Negative Nancy photos, which means our mandatory evacuations point track goes up to 1, so that can return to the box as well. Up to the evacuation capacity. The evacuation capacity there is 1, so yep, we are evacuating the Negative Nancy photos there. On the active player's faction map. Okay, so that goes to them, which means we've tracked that. Okay, so now that we got one, no, that's the lens cap. I thought the bag still had 1 token in it. It shouldn't have, though. Alright, so now that that's empty, we would replenish locations, night round only. Mutation regeneration step, that isn't putting another stack back on there, is it? Another unit on there? God, I hope not. Players remove one hit cube from each mutation that has one or more hits on it, okay? So if there are no mutations in the game, we skip that. Biohazard infection steps, and now we're drawing out of the biohazard bag. 2 biohazard cubes. Which we've got 2 green, which have no effect. So those go back. Those go back in the bag, I believe, right? Yep, looks like it. Okay, so now we refill the turn order bag. We'll give that a quick shake. All right, then we advance the round marker, which means now we're taking 2 actions at the start of round 2, October 25th in the afternoon. All right, we've given the turn order bag a good shake. We also have 42 points worth of civilians on the board yet. So now we're drawing for another turn order. Now we are taking 2 actions on player turns, so that's a fate token right off the bat, and that's not good. So our fate card, reanimated, add 2 tiles to each murder of horrors unit located on the track number equaling the drawn fate number. Okay. So set the first card aside, draw another fate number, and then we're adding 2 to each separate murder of horrors stack on that track. Alright, so our fate number here is 1, so we're adding 2. So we're adding 2 to that stack, and we're adding 2 to this stack. Okay. Delightful. Okay. Alright, then we activate track 4, which track 4 is this stack way up here. That's got 7, I believe, in it. Yes. So that's only moving 1 space. Okay. That's not too catastrophic. So now we'll see what comes out of the bag next. Coming out next is another fate token. Delightful. Alright, so our next fate card, we're spawning on track 3. This is a new 4 stack. Then we're activating 4 and 5. One, two, 3. So, right, spawn on track 3, activate 4 and 5. So you're moving 1, 2, 3 because you're a 4 stack. Actually, no, you're moving 2 because you're a 4 stack. Alright, and then that's activating 5. That's a 1 stack, but it's a civilian, so it'll be taking out this unit, which means it'll be taking out Artie Wolf's Whiskey Emporium, which reduces the civilian points on the board once again by 1. Could we please not draw another fate token this turn? Let's see what we get here. There we go. Alright, the Plum Island Constabulary is getting to go next. Okay, so wait, there was something else for close combat, wasn't there? When any horror units involved in close combat. Okay, so players add a biohazard cube from the available pools of the biohazard on the game's track sheet. So, starting with yellow, a biohazard cube, so there should have been 1 in the bag already. I'm not going to go back and redraw that. Okay, so the Plum Island Constabulary gets to go. We have 2 actions. I think one of them is probably going to be to try to repair the island-wide light and power. We could do follow actions, but I'm not going to run the risk of follow actions because follow actions potentially have drawing for events, so I'm not going to take a chance on that. I think everybody's good here, so I'm going to have Drebin try to finish repairing island-wide light and power. We need a fate number for that, so we will draw a 3, which I think, yep, that'll do it. Repairs underway. For a damaged area or bridge, reduce the damage marker value by 1. So, yeah, which means we get to remove that. We get the Power Now marker, which I believe will give each unit, or each faction, that gives each faction 5 supplies, right? Yes, if all the damage markers, players will immediately remove the Power Now, and each player receives a 5 supplies marker. So that'll be very helpful going into the night phase. And then for our second action, we're going to have... Commander Stallion attack this... Don't have him attack this 3 stack from range? I probably should. So I think we'll do that. He gets 3 dice on that. We'll bring the dice tower into shot. We can put it down right about there. And we'll get 3 dice out for that. We're not going to have to put any biohazard cubes in, I don't think, because we're doing this from range. Let me just double check that. Cost 1 supplies marker for each. Okay, so they are going to have to spend 1 supply marker for a ranged combat. I guess that's the trade-off. So, right. Alright, ranged combat is only initiated me. Okay. Alright, so now we're rolling for the ranged combat from Stallion. That's blocking a hit, but that'll do 1. That's blocking 2 hits, which don't really matter, but that'll do 1 to this stack of Murder of Horrors, which means that comes off the board. We'll bring the dice tower out of the way for the time being. We've got some giant stacks that we need to deal with, though, very quickly. But let's see what happens here. Let's see what comes out of the bag next. Another fate token. How delightful. At least that empties the bag of fate tokens. So let's see what we're spawning next. We're spawning on track 2, which is going to be a new 3 stack, since the biohazard is still at level 0. And spawn track 2. Then we have a surge activation, so we're drawing another fate number, which will... Oh, wait. Do we... Oh, I think I've been forgetting to draw event cards when they pop up. Or is that when you... Oh, that might be when you... I think that's the section for when you do a follow action. You draw a fate card. See if you draw for an event. That would make sense. Let's see if it explains that. Follow action. 14... Must draw a fate card and check the bottom section for one of the 2 following results. Okay, so that's what that's for. All right, so we draw a fate number to activate the track number equal to that twice. So the fate number here is 4, so we're activating 4 twice, which fortunately just means this giant stack of Murder of Horrors is moving 1 and then 2. we may need to send Chase in there to try to deal with that. The Plum Island Constabulary has one more action coming up. All right, so going into the turn order bag, we've got the event card left, one Plum Island Constabulary, and both Greenport Township card tokens. Coming out next will be the Greenport Township. Do we have any foot actions that we want to do? You know what? I think we will send Norton up here. Anybody can do free foot actions because of the Crisis Adrenaline. We'll have I'll have Dr. House move up to 2F. Actually, if I move him here, he's going to intercept this stack of horrors coming down most likely. Yeah, so let's move him there. Over to Sherry's berries. We could move a Flam in as well, but I'm not sure I love the idea. I think we are going to have to whittle that stack down, though, so I'll move him in. And I think that'll be it for Crisis Adrenaline. So for 2 actions, we're going to have LaFlamme take a close combat action against that stack of horrors. So it could be inflicting... That's a 6 stack, so it could be inflicting... So in the building area, building area is stack divided by 4 rounded up. Yes. Number of tiles divided by 4 rounded up. So that'll be 2 hits, which means, and then LaFlamme will get 4 dice for that. We'll be putting another yellow cube in the bag here. We got the dice tower right there, so we'll see what LaFlamme does with this. All right, so he blocks a hit, and then we get a crit. So we take 1 off, and then we re-roll this die. We'll be taking a total of 3 off. LaFlamme will take 1 hit because he blocked one with a shield. And we have to put another yellow cube in the biohazard bag. That's not ideal, but it'll kind of work. I think we'll go ahead and run that back. All right, so this time so that's 1 hit for the murder of horrors. LaFlamme will do it again. All right, so 2.5 hits, which will be just the 2 hits because you can't deal a partial hit. So those get taken out, and then LaFlamme will take another hit. We'll also put another yellow cube in the biohazard bag, which is this one. We'll shake that up. And then we'll go back to the turn order deck. The Plum Island Constabulary. Alright, so let me bring the dice tower out of shot for a second. Looks like we're almost to the end of another round. Okay, so do we have any Crisis Adrenaline that we want to do? I don't think so right now. We're probably going to need to go work on... Where's my laser pointer? We're probably going to need to meet this giant stack of horrors coming down, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. I could send Chase up there to try to work on that now, but I don't know how in love with that idea I am. We've also got this stack coming down here, but I've got Cramden down here ready to intercept that, but I don't like the idea of it getting to these civilians. So I think we're going to have to... I think we are going to have to bite the bullet and send Chase in ultimately. So he's going to move into 4D. Then we're going to move Drebin 1, 2, so I can try to work on getting these civilians away from this stack coming in. Then Hartman is going to move 1, 2 on Crisis Adrenaline, try to intercept. Friday's going to move 1, 2, keep that stack in check. And then I think Stallion's going to stay put. Alright, so if I can work on at least this stack of... horrors right here, we may be able to do something with that. So for Chase, he's going to do a close combat action. Since it's a clear area, we're going to do number of hits in the stack divided by 2 rounded up. So it's potentially inflicting... Gross. This would just take Chase out if we have a bad enough roll. That's a 7 stack. Unfortunately, I think the Canine's going to have to make a valiant sacrifice here. We get 3 dice for him. Hopefully we can block some of this carnage. Two hits and a block, so that'll actually work, which means Chase will take 2 of those out, but he'll suffer 3 hits back, which will bring him down to 1 health. It's not great, but could have been worse. I think with that in mind, this costs 1 action. Unit may forge 1 supplies. I believe he can forge even in... I think he's going to use a special action because we are going to need supplies. So we're going to forge for supplies there. Alright, which means that's all done. So now we're drawing the next token out of the bag. We've got 2 left in here. We're drawing the Greenport Township, which means we're going to have an event coming up. So let's see what we want to do here. I think we're going to bring Cramden up here on Crisis Adrenaline. We can probably get LaFlamme out of there now. It might be worth trying to repair some of these bridges and get at these bigger civilians. So let's go 1, 2 for him. That's not adjacent, so that's unfortunate. We'd probably do a little crowd control to start moving this unit, this civilian, toward the chopper over here. Or we might also have the option of... We do have the ability to control the NPCs too, don't we? I think so. We have to be in the same area with them? That seems likely. Well, at any rate, I think for the first action, I think LaFlamme is going to try to repair this bridge so we can get at some of those higher cost units, which means our fate number here will be a 1. That seems like a problem. For a damaged area or bridge, increase the damage marker value by 1. That's not good. We could spend a supplies marker to convert that to no effect, which I think we have. Yeah, I think we have to spend the supply there to keep that as no effect. And then, on that note, I'm going to have Cramden crowd control. These 2 civilian units away from this stack of horrors. I also want to get them out of the path of these guys. So, that's all done, which means our last token in the turn order bag. Hey, look at that. It's the Impending Doom. Joy. So let's see what our event is coming out. Newly ruptured vats. Draw 3 cubes from the biohazard bag and apply their effects to the track. Place the drawn cubes back into the bag. Delightful. So now we need the biohazard bag. So 3. Oh, of course, we draw 3 yellows out. Wonderful. 1, 2, 3. Delightful. Alright, so that's all done, which means we would replenish locations, regenerate mutations, biohazard infection steps, so we draw 2 cubes and apply the effects on the biohazard track. A green and a yellow, which biohazard levels 4 still has a spawning murder horror stacks in stacks of 3, which isn't terrible, which isn't a huge problem, but it could be something to note there. Refill the turn order bag. Give that a good shake. And now we're getting ready for round 3 and our first night round. Alright, so we start off our first night round with a hunger phase. We have to spend a supply per faction unit. Is that housed in the compound? I believe that's just all of them. Each player counts the number of faction units on their map, including a compound if they've built one, and checks to see if they have any civilian units within their compound. Alright, so in order to feed units, players may discard 1 supplies per faction, so I think, or per unit. So I think it's going to be 5 and 5, the supplies that we got from restoring the power to feed our faction units. So that's all handled, which means now we go back into the activity phase. The Greenport Township's going first. Okay, so there's definitely a temptation to try to start repairing this Great South Bay Bridge, but actually, now that this Murder of Horrors unit can't get there, we've got this one pretty much in check at this point. The only problem is anybody that could repair it is way away from the board right now. Is way away from there right now. So I think we'll move Norton in that direction. Try to repair it. We'll send Mayberry. We'll start working Mayberry over in that direction. Actually, I think we're gonna have him stay there. We'll do a little bit of crowd control. That's gonna be a long crowd control, though. We'll have House move up here. I'll leave La Flamme up there. We'll try to do some repair on some of these bridges. So we've got 3 actions this round, which I think we'll start with. Which I think we will start with having Norton crowd control these guys toward the Great South Bay Bridge. We'll try to get this repaired as fast as we can so we can start evacuating civilians that way as well. Then we're going to try again to repair Bridge 7 up here, so we'll draw a fate number for that. That's a 5, which I believe is good. Remove damage markers equal to the admin rating of the unit. The admin is a 4, which means we get to remove that, and that bridge is completely repaired. That was action 2 for the Greenport Township. Action 3... I think Mayberry will crowd control these civilians up toward the beach. So that's it for the Greenport Township's first turn. Now we'll draw another turn order token. We'll find the Plum Island Constabulary. Okay, so unfortunately, Chase can get out of there again. And he might want to. We've got to be careful that we don't get Chase taken out. So I think on Crisis Adrenaline, Friday's going to move down here for 1, 2. We are going to try to repair the Great South Bay Bridge. Commander Stallion's going to move. Is going to stay put, I think. Harriman's going to move 1, 2. 2. We're going to start trying to crowd control some of these guys out. And Chase is going to move 1 or 3 to try to get away from these horrors. So he's going to move 1, 2. We'll do that. Then we've got 3 actions for the Plum Island Constabulary, which will be 1 for Friday to move down there, so we can try to repair that. 2, he'll do some repair on the Great South Bay Bridge. His fate number will be a 1, which is an epic fail. He's got to spend it. We got to spend the supplies to keep that as a nothing. And then action 3, we'll try it again. That's a 6 this time. Okay, so we get to remove all damaged markers. That's very fortunate, which means now the Great South Bay Bridge is available as an evac point for us. So that's very fortunate. And we've got a lot of civilians that are heading in that direction. That's going to take an evacuate action, though. So... okay, which means we get to draw another token here. So this time we'll find... an event card. Delightful. So our event card coming out. Frenzied Horrors. Draw a fate number. All horrors in the area farthest along that track number in the highest lettered area move along a green connection, which normally they can't do, to an area on the adjacent track. If there are 2 connections, the horror move into the area on the lowest numbered track. Note that no combat is started with this move, so we draw a fate number for that. And horrors in the area furthest along that track move laterally. So the fate number here is 5, which means this is the stack furthest along, so it will move into that track because it's trying to move to a lower numbered track. And last time I checked, 4 is lower than 6. So we do need to keep an eye on that. Let me update the civilians just to make sure I've got the counts right. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 41. Okay. We've got that all straight now. Okay, so the event's done, which means we go back into the turn order deck, and here we'll find a fate card. Delightful. Alright, so now we're drawing a fate card, which means here we find we're spawning on track 1, so we're spawning still at 3, and then we're activating tracks 2 and 3. Alright, so now we're activating on tracks 2 and 3, which means that's going to be a 7 stack, so that'll move 1. And this is a 3 stack, so it'll move 2, and then it'll amalgamate. And then we're activating 3, so we got to draw a fate number to see where they're going. They're moving on fate number 3, so they're moving over in this direction. And then that's a 3 stack, so that'll be moving 3 areas, which means we're going to need another fate number. 1, 2, and then our next fate number for that is 4, so it will move here and amalgamate with that, turning into a gigantic stack there. That's a bit of a problem, but nothing we can do about that at this point. So we've got 2 fate tokens left in the bag and one of each faction. So let's see what we get here. That's another fate card, Wunderbar. Alright, so first up here, we're spawning on track 3, which is still a 3 stack. 2, 3. And then we're activating track 2. Yikes. Okay, that's bad. Because that's a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a 10 stack. Yep. That's a 10 stack, which means that's a building area, so it'll be inflicting, divided by 4 rounded up, so 2.5 rounded up to 3, which means it'll be dealing 3 hits. So it'll just deal 3 hits, which means it'll take out all of these civilians. So we lose the Wayland pool maintenance and players' financial aid. So that's another 3 points of civilian points coming off the board. 38. All right, we have a total of 1 evacuation point, so we've got to watch that magic number very carefully. Before we continue the round, though, I do need to change my battery. We're not in a great spot here, but let's see what happens coming out of the turn order bag. Next up, we've got another fate card. Wonderful. All right, let's see what our next fate card is. Reanimated spawn. Uh-oh. So we need a fate number, which means we find track 6. So we're adding 2 murder horrors to each murder horror stack located on that track. Fortunately, we only have the 1, which does turn it back into a 4 stack. So we do need to be mindful of that. And then we're activating tracks 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that is for 8 stacks, so that will be moving 1. That's a gigantic stack, so actually that will be moving 1 as well, moving into combat with Dr. House. That'll move there, and then this stack will move here, and then this stack is wait, that should have been there. And then this is a 3 stack, so 1, 2... We'll draw a fate number for that to see where it's moving for number 3. That's a 6. So it's moving over here. Which means it'll take out 1 of these units. We'll have to take this one out, so we're losing Pop's Donuts, which also takes us down another unit on the board, so we're down to 37 points. Our magic number this time is 24 units. So once we get down to 24 units, once we get down to 24 civilian points on the board, then we're going to tap out and call it a game, because at that point we physically won't be able to win. So looking at combat, I believe when they move in, at least that's the way I've been playing it, when they move in, moving into an area with a non-horrors unit, yep, so they will initiate combat. We'll have this unit up here, so that's a clear area, which means it will be inflicting 1 divided by 2, which is half, rounded up to 1 hit. Dr. House will get 2 dice on that. We'll bring the dice tower into shot, and hopefully we can take out that Murder of Horrors unit, or stack, that Murder of Horrors tile fairly easily. But we are adding a biohazard cube to the bag. Wow, 2 crits. So that's actually taken out, but I believe we still roll for that to see if we block the hit. That's coming back. We do not. So House will take the 1 hit from that. All right, then we've got a combat. We did the combat on track 3. Okay, so we can get the dice tower back out of shot. Then we've got 2 tokens left in the turn order bag, which is 1 each of our units. All right, we've got the Greenport Township going next. Let's see, for a Crisis Adrenaline move, I think it's going to be... I think Mayberry is going to move in to the beach and keep trying to shuffle these guys. Oh boy, that's a terrible idea. I should probably start crowd controlling anything toward the Great South Bay Bridge. That seems like it's going to be a much better idea. I believe the stack limit is 2. Right. Man, and that already has 2 other player units. Okay, so 2 non-horror standees per area. So I'm going to use Crisis Adrenaline to move Norton into 6H. Let's see. Yeah, I definitely want to start moving civilians in this direction. Because trying to bring them up and run the gauntlet here seems like a terrible idea. Which I think... Oh, they're not even adjacent, so trying to intercept there is going to be a bad idea. Cramden's probably going to get overrun pretty quickly there. Well, I think La Flamme is going to move up here. We're going to try to repair this bridge as well. We may need to come down... We may need to get these guys from behind these horrors once these move off. But we're going to have a huge problem on our hands here. I think that's what we're going to have to do. So for Action 1... For Action 1, La Flamme is going to try to repair this bridge up here, so we'll need a fate number for that. We find a 2, which repairs underway. So reduce the damage by 1, which means that turns into a 1. Okay, for Action 2... Mayberry's going to shuffle... Mayberry's going to crowd control this civilian unit in this direction. And Action 3, Norton's going to crowd control these 2 toward the Great South Bay Bridge. Alright, so we have 1 token left, and it's going to be to remove the drama. Hey, look at that, it's the Plum Island Constabulary. Alright, so Crisis Adrenaline move. Hartman will move into the bridge toll. We are going to need to forage for supplies at some point. I think we'll have... Stallion stay put to do that. Chase will also stay put, and I think Drebin's going to stay put. So... For Action 1, we're going to use a location action on... We're going to use a location action with Stallion. What do we want to do there? Fortunately, the area isn't compromised, so... We're going to draw a... We're going to do a search action there, so we're going to draw the top card of the search card from the deck. So here we will draw Red Hard Rocks Amphitheater Collapse. Your unit comes upon the Red Hard Rocks Amphitheater, where a concert was scheduled featuring the rising country music star Brad Babylon Brooks. Fans, roadies, and the star himself are trapped inside the clubhouse, and the parking lot vendor area is wrecked. Check your unit's admin area. It's a 1. This unit's attempt to rescue people has mostly failed, but your people do find some groupies and salvage a food truck. Place 1 random civilians unit and a supplies in this area. Then we exhaust the area. So the Plum Island Constabulary will find a supplies in the area, and I was going to say I thought I had a... Oh, I can just flip the single. Duh. Then we'll draw a random civilians. We will draw... We'll draw a 1-point value and find Latimer Pest Control. So that's down here, and then here's an exhausted location. That was Action 1. Action 2, Hartman's going to crowd control those 2 civilians into the Great South Bay Bridge. And Action 3, Friday's going to take an evasion act, evacuation action, which I believe... We can take an evacuation at the Great South Bay Bridge now that we've repaired it. Yep. By using a crowd control action. So it's actually a crowd control action to get these guys off, which we can do because we have enough admin points. So we're gaining 3 evacuation points as we save. Rough Light Dog Grooming for 1 and the Vandergrump family for 2. So that increases our evacuation points up to 4, which means the number we need to be aware of now of civilian units on the board is 21. So that's another 3 points off the board, which brings us down to 34. And then that makes the... Okay, yep, the bag is empty at this point. So now we replenish locations, which will unexhaust this location. Then we would have mutation regeneration, except we don't. We'll draw for the biohazard cubes. Two of those. 2 greens, nothing happening there, thank God. Refill the turn order bag step. Okay, so that's all shaken up. And we advance the game round marker. So now we're on the morning of October 26th. And once again, we're going to have 3 actions for this round. No hunger phase to worry about in this round, so we go right into the activity phase. We'll draw a turn order token. Impending Doom right off the bat. This is great. So our event card coming out. Terror on Overdrive. Place a horror's +1 move marker in the spawn zone of each track. The next time that track activates, each horror's unit adds 1 to its normal movement allowance. If there's already a marker on that track, flip over the +1 marker to its +2 side and add 2 to every horror's movement allowance. After applying the marker's effect, discard it. Wonderful. So every track gets a +1 horror's move effect. I believe they call that a problem. I mean, we're not doing great as it is, but we don't really need to be pouring gasoline on that fire, thank you very much. All right. Oh, +1 area during night game rounds. I didn't see that. I'm not going to go back and retcon that now, though. All right, so next token, a fate token already. Well, let's see how bad we're getting domed on this one. Spawning on track 1. So spawning on track 1, thankfully, is still a 3 spot for now. So spawn on track 1. Activate on track 6, which is going to waste the +1 horror's move on track 6, thankfully. I mean, that's not great, but it's something. So Stallion will be getting a close combat. That's a building area, so it's potentially 1 hit, which means I need the dice tower and shot, and we'll need 2 dice for Stallion's attack. Let's see what happens here. That's a hit and block the 1, so that goes away, and we lose we take 1. So we take 1 off the Murder of Horrors stack, and we block the hit, but we still add a yellow cube to the biohazard bag. I was about to add it to the turn order bag, but I don't want it in there for obvious reasons. Okay, so that's all done, which means now we go back to the turn order bag again. The Plum Island Constabulary going. Okay, so... So what do we want to do here? I think I'm going to leave the dice tower and shot, because we're probably taking another attack this turn. So I think we're going to have... Hartman move. This is on Crisis Adrenaline movement, by the way. Hartman's going to move. I think Drebin's going to stay put. Friday is probably fine where he is. Oh, each civilian moves 2 units. Actually, you know what? I think better idea. He's going to move. We're going to leave Hartman here, and Friday's going to move up here. We're going to do it that way. All right, so with that in mind, now we have 3 actions for the constabulary. Stallion's going to move these 2. Oh, he's only got 1. So let's get the 2 cost unit out of there. Then Friday's going to crowd control as well. He'll point the way for them to move 2 areas. So they'll move to the Great South Bay Bridge. And then action 3, Stallion's going to initiate a combat on this murder of horrors, still inflicting 1 hit, and potentially, hopefully dealing more than that. That is a crit, so we take 1 off, and then we roll that die again. We take the 1 off, and Stallion will take the... Whoop, didn't mean to jar the camera there. Don't think I can really cut that, but Stallion will take the 1 hit from that. He's got 4 health left. Okay. Coming back to the turn... yeah, those 3 actions. Coming back to the turn order bag. We've got a fate token. Oh, joy. All right, so our fate card. We're spawning on track 6, and we've got a surge. That's a problem. So we're spawning on track 6. I'm pretty sure we added the yellow cube to the bag, so we're spawning on track 6, and then we're surging. So we're going to draw another fate number and activate that track twice. Joy. Let's see what we get here. Track 4 we're activating twice. So this stack will stop here. That's a 4 stack. And then this one's got to draw a fate number to see where it goes. Right. Oh, we got to draw a fate number for that. That's what I'm doing. So here we'll find a 2, so it's actually moving in this direction. Alright, so we're still in the middle of the first activation. We had this murder of horrors stop here with poor Chase, who's probably about to bite it. So they're in a clear area, which means they're potentially inflicting... That's divided by 2, I believe, right? Yes. Divided by 2, rounded up. So that's potentially 2 hits. Chase has got 3 close combat dice. We need to do some damage on these horrors. Chase is unfortunately just about to get domed here, most likely. So we'll see what we can do with this. We block the hit. We block the hit, and we deal 1. So we take them out. Unfortunately, okay, it was actually dealing 2 hits, so never mind. So Chase is still going to be defeated. Poor Chase. So valiant. Means now Chase is off the board. But we are activating that track again. Because remember, we had a surge there. So, is it any units? Any unit stops it? I think so. Let me just double check movement here for the horrors. I believe it just stops them when they get to any unit with a... It stops it to move immediately. Okay, so does it care about starting its movement in an area, though? That's the other thing. I would assume it does, but begins in or enters an area. Okay. So we're activating track 4 again, which means this one will move... This one's stopped, but this one will move in. They'll amalgamate, and then they're dealing... Divided by 2, so that's a 2, that's a 3, 8. So that'll be dealing 2 hits and taking 3 more units worth of civilians off the board. So now we're losing... Fielder on the roof... Actually, is that root or roof? That's roof. Font is a little hard to read from a distance. And... Bates Motel staff. So those go back to the box. And then we lose 3 more civilian points. Once again, our magic number where we're tapping out is going to be 21, so we're at 31 right now. Not a great spot to be in, but we lose the Horror's move from track 4, since that was the one we activated. So, now we go back to the turn order bag once again. And here we'll find another fate token. Delightful. Alright, so now we draw. We're spawning track 6 and activating track 5, which that stacks right there. So we're spawning track 6 and activating track 5. Fortunately, track 5 is actually clear right now, so there's nothing happening there. Which means now I believe we have both Greenport Township and a Plum Island Constabulary left in the bag. Alright, here we find Greenport Township. Okay. Unfortunately, I think we are going to have to try to intercept some of these bigger stacks. Moving house in to 2F right now. So moving house to 2F would probably be a very bad idea right now, because I think that's a 10 stack coming after him. Actually, I think most of our units are pretty terrible at... Most of the Greenport Township is pretty terrible at combat right now. And combat's really what we're dealing with right now. But I think Norton will move 1 to Bridge Toll, and I think that'll be it for Adrenaline movement. So I think for Action 1, Cramden's going to... I believe that's a forage, right? I believe that's a forage marker for a location. You take as many supplies as there are forage markers in the area. Yes. So they will take 2 supplies. So the Gavany Township will gain 2 supplies, and then we'll exhaust the location. So 2 supplies and exhaust the location. Then for Action 2, LaFlamme's going to try to repair this bridge. So we'll see what fate number we draw here. We'll need to reshuffle the fate deck after this. We draw a 6, which should just clear that out. Oh yeah. We'll clear that out for Action 2. And then there's nothing going on there. We could take a search for Action 3, and I think we will. So let's see what LaFlamme finds for Action 3. We need volunteers at the CDC. Check your unit's admin rating. It's a 4. Your expertise is invaluable. Your unit may take 1 hit, then each player gains 4 supplies. Your unit may take 1 hit, then each player... Alright, so I think he take 1 hit, then each player gains 4 supplies. That seems worded a little bit weird, but... So it sounds like it's a may take the hit, but each player then gains 4 supplies? Why would we take the hit if we just gain the supplies either way? That seems kind of silly to me. At least the way that's worded is a little bit weird. So I'm just going to say... like I said, I'm just going to play it like, why the hell would I take the hit? And each player, when we just gain the 4 supplies either way. Which will mostly be good for night round. Which will mostly be good for the next night round. And then we exhaust the location, right? Search, I believe, exhausts the location, doesn't it? Bottom card indicates do not exhaust this area. That doesn't look like it exhausts the card. It would say exhaust the area. Okay, so never mind that, which means we're all clear there. So our next card, our next token, is the township again. So now I think House will start moving to... We'll move down to Sherry's berries. Mayberry's going to get overrun if he goes into the Pearl Corporation HQ, which might still be worth it. We definitely need to get these civilians moving, because if we lose 6 more points of civilians, the game is going to be over, and we will lose on the spot. I think we are going to go ahead with LaFlamme's original plan and try to get that through, because we are probably going to have to come... Like I said, I think the route we're going to have to take is we're going to have to bring some of these civilians over the top behind some of these horrors. We need to wait for that one to get past, though. So that's potentially a problem there. But, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do here. So for Action 1... for Action 1, I think we're going to move... We're going to move House 1 to the Air Med. Actually, yeah, we're going to move him 1 to the Air Med, or to the Good Samaritan Hospital. Then we're going to move him 2 toward the beach, which has got another chopper on it. I didn't think of that. You definitely send civilians in that direction. So I think that's a better plan, actually. We're going to have LaFlamme move, crowd control these. Actually, we're going to have LaFlamme move down here for 1. Crowd control these guys for 2. And then move down for 3. We might have to use House to intercept this stack of horrors up here, so we can try to get these civilians out. But we'll see what happens there. We've got 1 more token left in the turn order bag. Hey, look at that. It's Plum Island Constabulary. Alright, Adrenaline move. So we did lose Chase on that one, which is unfortunate. But I think Hartman's going to move to the Great South Bay Bridge on Crisis Adrenaline. Are we going to move anybody else? I don't think so. No. Okay, so for Action 1, Hartman is going to use a crowd control to get these 3 points of civilians out. So, next we save Gene the Dancing Machine Studio and the Addams Family. So that's another 3 evacuation points, which means now our non-magic number is 19. That's what we need to get to I'd give up the game after that. So we're hoping... Alright, so that was Action 1. It was an evacuation action. Action 2, I think we are going to have Stallion attack this stack of horrors. So we'll bring the dice tower back in shot. He's got 2 close combat dice. I'd rather do this from range, but we need to get rid of them. They're potentially doing 1 hit. Let's see what Stallion can do. Block the hit and take half a hit, so basically nothing out of that. But we put another yellow cube in the biohazard bag. Let's see, that was Action 2. Action 3, Drebin, he doesn't have a special ability around when doing a search. Alright, so he's going to move these 2. Yikes, crowd controlling them right into that would be a very stupid idea. Especially since the turn's now... Especially since we're about to refill the bag. I think we're actually going to try a ranged combat to try to whittle that stack down a little bit. He's got 2 ranged dice. We'll see if we can do a little bit of damage from range. Okay, we got a crit. So that's 1 hit. That's better than a sharp stick in the eye at this point, the way things are going. But the turn order bag is empty, so now we replenish locations, which we don't have any... Or no, that's during the night round we do that. Mutation regeneration, biohazard, which is... This is always the fun part. 2 cubes. Yellow and a green, which is not great. And we refill the turn order bag. We gotta shake off camera. And we're ready for round 5. So we're in the afternoon now of October 26th. Time for round 5. We're still taking 3 actions each round. We need to do a lot more with evacuation, though. Let's see if we can get moving on that. And we have the Greenport Township going. All right, crisis adrenaline. Yeah, I think, as much as I don't like it, I think Dr. House is going to have to be our sacrificial lamb here to try to get these civilians out. So Mayberry's going to move... Mayberry's going to move here on Crisis Adrenaline. I think we're good there. So for Action 1, LaFlamme's going to crowd control these 2 over to Sherry's Berries. Action 2, House is going to move in to intercept the Murder of Horrors. Then Action 3, LaFlamme's going to move up to Sherry's Berries. Next token out of the turn order deck, or turn order bag. I keep calling it deck because I'm so used to it being a deck in Aeon's End, even though I know it's not in this game. Greenport Township again. I think we're good on Crisis Adrenaline this time, so we'll move Action 1 to the Good Samaritan Hospital. Action 2, LaFlamme will move in. Action 3 will evacuate this civilian on the chopper, and we'll find that we've saved Big Nate's clothing store. So that gives us evacuation points of 8. The only thing I don't like about that is now the bag is empty. Now the Greenport Township isn't going again this round. But I don't think we can do anything about that at this point. So we've got the Plum Island Constabulary, the Fate tokens, and the event card left in there. And we've got the Plum Island Constabulary. Alright, let's see what we've got here. So I think we're probably going to stay put. So I think Drebin's going to we're going to spend the supplies. I'm going to keep trying to whittle down this stack of Murder of Horrors. So we'll bring so we're spending the supplies to initiate a ranged combat. Bring the dice tower back in shot. One hit coming off the Murder of Horrors, which is something. Action 2. I'm going to leave the dice tower in shot because Stallion's going to attack this Murder of Horrors down here. That's a 2 stack. Potentially doing 1 hit. Except we have at least 1 hit, and the hit's blocked. Their hit's blocked, so we have 1 hit, which will take that down. Well, we will add another biohazard cube to the biohazard bag. And Action 3, I think we'll have... I think we'll have Friday try to repair the Old Republic Airport. So we'll shuffle up the Fate deck because we need a Fate number now. We'll see how this repair goes. That repair is going to go terrible. Reduce the damage by 1, so that's not bad. So we reduce the damage on the airport by 1, on the Old Republic airport. So we're all clear there. Next token out of the bag. It is a Fate token. Good thing we just shuffled the Fate deck. I'll get the dice tower out of the way so we can see the tracks. And then our Fate number. No spawn, so that's something, but we are activating tracks 4, 5, and 6. So 4 is moving here down after Mayberry. 5 is still empty. 6 is already stuck. So we'll move into combat with Mayberry. That's an 8 stack. Potentially 2 hits on Mayberry. He's only got 1 combat die. This is not good. And only 3 health. Gross. Alright, here's the die. So 1 combat die. 1 hit, but he'll still take 2 back. That's a big problem for Mayberry, who's only got 3 health to begin with. Alright, then we are activating track 6 as well. So we're attacking Stallion here. He gets 2 dice. That Murder Horror stack is potentially doing 1 hit. Except that's a crit that'll take that out. Alright, so we do roll to try to block the hit, but Stallion has 3 health left, so that's something. Alright, back to the turn order bag we go. The Plum Island Constabulary, so that's the last of the player tokens, which means the game will be doing bad stuff to us for the rest of the round. Okay, so I think here we're pretty much good as is. So for action 1, we're going to... For action 1, Stallion's going to crowd control this civilian over to the airport. Action 2, Friday's going to try to finish repairing the airport, so we can send the AirMed chopper over there. We'll find a 1, which is an epic fail, so we'll have to spend a supply to keep... Oh, that's bad. I think we are going to have to increase it because we're heading into a night phase, and we need to be able to feed our units. So action 1 is a crowd control, 2 repair, 3... Drebin can't afford to crowd control those guys because we still have 2 fate markers in the bag. Although we might have to sacrifice that civilian to keep them... We've got a civilian up here, but the problem is we've still got 2 fate markers, 2 fate tokens, plus the event in the bag. So trying to crowd control them into the first precinct is a terrible idea right now, especially with that +1 movement in there. We may need to let them get past. Although we may need to let them get past. So we've got a little bit of shielding time. Let's see, action 3 though. I think it's going to be a crowd control for Friday, so he's going to respect my authority, send them to the Great South Bay Bridge. Which is something anyway. So now we see what comes out of the bag next. Hey, look at that. It's a Fate token. What a shock. So coming to the next Fate card. Reanimated. Oh, wonderful. So we draw a Fate number, which means we're adding 2 tiles to each Murder of Horrors unit located on the track number for track 4. Oh, great. So we're adding 2 to the unit that's already on Mayberry, which is a problem. Okay. That's the only one there, so we don't have a new spawn. Right? Yes, we had a... Okay, that was a reanimated spawn. Then we activate 4, 5, and 6. So 4 is already stuck in combat here with Mayberry. 5 doesn't have anything going on, and 6 is I believe that's a 2 movement for a 6 stack, yes. So 1, and we need a fate number on a forked path. A 5 will send it on that forked path. So now we've got that. We need the dice tower back in shot because Mayberry is most likely about to get domed here. He's got 1 die against a 8-9 stack. So it's potentially doing 3 hits. Actually divided by 4, yeah, 3 hits. Which is a crit for 1. So 1 hit, and that still does 3 hits, which is enough to take Mayberry out. And then does it deal excess would it deal excess hits? That's another cube in the biohazard bag as well. Would it deal excess hits? One or more horrors units hasn't attacked yet, and all player units. Okay, so the excess hits don't spill over. That's something, I guess. We're still in a very bad way, let's face it here, folks. But our next token, we still have the event and the last fate. It's the event. So we draw an event, we find Disease Jailbreak. Spawn the most wanted mutation standee in the Clementine State Penitentiary map. We'll move that out of the way. So we're spawning the most wanted mutation standee in the Clementine State Penitentiary at 6C. Alright, so 6C is all the way back here. We need to find out if the Poldinger's Law Office is on the map, so we're going to flip all of these over. Latimer Pest Control, Denny Real Estate, Car Care Auto Body, Poldinger Law Office. Oh, delightful. A defense attorney gets these prisoners early release. This mutation standee will conduct a free activation immediately after spawning. That lawyer's an idiot. Right. So a free activation for them is going to be I believe that's just a straight movement, isn't it? Yeah. So, right, so what's the movement allowance for these horror... Oh, 1 foot movement. I can read. Right, so it's 1 foot movement, which means he'll be going after Stallion right away. I assume the 3 for them is the number of dice they roll. That would seem to make the most sense and also be a big problem for us. Inflict number of hits equal to its combat rating, so it's going to be inflicting at least 3 hits. Which, if Stallion takes all of those, he's going to be defeated. Unfortunately, he's only rolling 2 dice. So he can't block all of these. He's taking at least 1. He is inflicting 2 back. He would need to do 5 damage to kill it. So he's doing 2 damage back, but 3 hits is enough to take out Stallion. So 2 hits, 3 is enough to take out Stallion. That's unfortunate. Which means we're a little less than halfway home in terms of losing this game. Alright, so we've got the last fate card coming out. Or last fate tile, or token coming out. So now we're activating... Or now we're spawning on track 3. So now we're spawning a 3 stack on... Now we're spawning a 3 stack still on track 3. Yep. Then we've got a surge, so we're drawing a fate number and activating that track twice. That's fun. So the fate number here is 4, so we're activating track 4 twice. which means this civilian's going to get taken out, which means we're losing. Rocky Top Food Mart. So that's going to bring us down to 30 civilian points. Delightful. And then we activate that again, so that's moving. We need a fate number for it's moving. It doesn't really matter where it moves. It'll fate number 4, so it'll move to 4J. Right, we're about to get an overrun there, unless we can intercept that, but I think we're going to have to let the overrun happen, most likely. Okay, so the turn order bag is empty, which means now mutation regeneration. I believe they just heal everything. That seems most likely for how that's going to work. And remove 1 hit cube. Okay, so that's not as catastrophic as I thought it was going to be. I wouldn't have been surprised if it would have just healed all. We do need a yellow cube in the bag for the close combat that took out Stallion. So now we'll see what happens here as we draw 2 more cubes. Yellow, yellow, which brings us up to Biohazard level 7. All kinds of fun. And we refill the turn order bag. And we're into round 6, which is another night round. I also took a minute to update my current civilian points on the board. Our non-magic number now is actually 17. Apparently I can't do math. So if we lose 10 more points, we're going to lose the game. So with that, now we need a new token out of the turn order bag. The Plum Island Constabulary is up first. Okay. So we've got a... I think we're going to... we have to start off with feeding our units. So Plum Island Constabulary will feed their units for 3. Whoop, drawing the camera again. And 4 will feed the Greenport Township. Okay, now that we've got that done, Plum Island Constabulary I think is fine as is. Hartman will start off with an evacuation on the Great South Bay Bridge with a crowd control action, so we're evacuating. Latimer Pest Control. We saw this earlier when I was checking for those idiots at the law office. Which brings our evacuation points up to 9 and sends our non-magic number down to 16. Alright, so that's 1. Drebin's going to move... He's going to crowd control 2 and move 3. We're going to have to count on kind of dodging the bullet here. Those 2 are probably lost. Those 2 civilians are probably lost with those 2 stacks of murder horrors right there. Our next stack. Our next token is the Plum Island Constabulary once again. So they're out for the round at this point. Oh, this is bad. Actually, this kind of works for us, though. Because we can get at least these civilians away from this stack of horrors, and I think that's what we're going to have to do. So we're going to crowd control 1, 2, and crowd control 3. Keep them away and start kind of working them back. I want to work them toward the bridge, but I don't think we're going to have the time to do that. At least that was the plan. So now going back into the turn order bag. We find the Greenport Township. This is good and bad. It's good because we're potentially going to be able to do a lot this round, but we're not really making any headway here, especially since the township just lost Mayberry. Right, so... I think we're going to need to get I think we're probably going to leave everything as is. House is going to play defense, so we can get this, so we can get these civilians moving. Crowd control 1, move 2, crowd control 3. It's not the best thing in the world, but it does keep us away from potentially... Actually, we probably could come down here and try to repair the Coast Guard station. Maybe get some more evac options on the board. Coming out of the turn order bag. Greenport Township. Okay, that's both good and bad. So we are going to Crisis Adrenaline move LaFlamme into the... We are going to Crisis Adrenaline move him into the docks. That's a 2 there. I think action 1, we are going to have to try to repair that, so we need a fate number. We find a 4, which remove damage markers equal to the admin rating. So the admin's a 4, which means we get to repair that completely. And if this unit's in the same area as the Coast Guard cutter boat, which I think the Alyssa is a Coast Guard cutter, isn't it? Yeah, so that's the Coast Guard cutter. So an evacuate action using that boat action is a free action, which means we can evacuate this 2 civilian units. So now we have evacuated Jiffy Jeff's Auto Service, which brings our evacuation points up to 11, and also brings our non-magic number down to 14. So we're making some headway at least. That evacuate was a free action. We'll crowd control 2 and move in 3. Alright, turn order bag is back over here. Unfortunately, we are about to get an overrun if this big stack moves down to the VFW Memorial Park. We'll most likely see how overruns work in a second here, but let's see what comes out of the... Let's see what comes out of the bag here. That's an impending doom. That's not good. So we get another event. We find... Dazed and confused. Many civilians are confused about who to trust and therefore trust no one. Draw a fate number in any area on that track which contains both player units and civilian units together. A bloody fight breaks out. In each of those areas, eliminate 1 civilian's unit of the player's choice, and each player unit takes 1 hit. Boats and helicopters are unaffected. But if the area in question contains either the Gene the Dancing Machine's studio or the Zeke's Wine and Spirit civilian units, everyone dances and drinks together instead. The event has no effect in that area. So we need to find out what's here. That's the Walker family. I think that's the only area that's potentially affected. So we need a fate number for that, which means we find Area 1, which doesn't affect us. So there's no player units and civilian units together, so we get away with 1 there. Unfortunately, we've got 3... I think all 3 of these are most likely fate markers, which means we're going to be drawing 3 fate cards. I'll just confirm that real quick that, yep, everything in here is fate markers. So we're going to stack them like that, which means we'll draw our first fate card. We will find... We're spawning on tracks 1 and 2, which is still a 3 stack. One and 2. We've got a giant amalgamation in the spawn zone of track 1. Then we're activating 3 and 4. So that's a 1, 2. And then we need a fate number for that. The other 2 aren't moving because they're stopped, which I kind of expected was going to happen. Up. Fate card, Phoenix. Not an event, not a search card. Because we've got a forked path that this stack can take. So we need a fate card for that. As if we didn't have enough problems, that's a 1, which means it'll move into here and basically turn into an amalgamation. So combat on, actually that'll move this as well. So now I need to double check overrun. Okay. Alright, so I believe we eliminate civilians first, which will be another 1 point, so here we're losing. Moe's Game Store, so that'll go back to the bag. And then we're at overrun, so the horrors causing the overrun are removed from the map, which means these are removed from the map. We place an overrun marker there. Stunned. I know I've got overrun markers in here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Overrun. So we have an overrun there, which means at 4K, we advance the overrun track by 2. We need to be careful not to get the other areas overrun, but we're not in danger of having anything else overrun. The area is now considered to be compromised, so that's great. And we activated 3 and 4, so that first fate card's done. Second fate card. Oh wait, we also lose these 2 civilians. So we're losing Zeke's Wine and Spirits and Ulrid Viking Cruises, which also reduces our current civilian units on the board by another 2. So we're down to 25 as of now. I'll check that once I get done with these last 2 fate cards, just to make sure I've got that count straight. So next up we find we're spawning on track 1 and activating track 6. Oh, that's lovely. So we're spawning on track 1, which that's turning into a giant stack, and activating track 6. So you're moving 1, and you're a 6 stack, which I believe is enough to move 2. Yep, a 6 stack is enough to move 2, so looks like Friday's about to get domed. Friday is in... Actually, he's got full health right now, but he's got a lot of trouble on his hands right now, so he's going to deal with the most wanted first. It's inflicting 3 hits unless he can do something to block it. That looks like a whole lot of nothing to block it. So he's got 5 health left, but he's also facing a stack of horrors. We have to put another yellow cube in the biohazard bag, which is right here. And then we've got that's a 6 stack, so number of units divided by 4 rounded up will be 2 hits, right? Yes, number of tiles in the murder of horror stack divided by 4 rounded up. So potentially 2 hits there. We're going to have another close combat there. That's a whole lot of nothing. So Friday has also been defeated, which is not good at all for us. And that was just the second fate card. Our third fate card Chaos. Oh joy, just what we needed. We'll get that off the board. So we're drawing a fate number, and then we're going to be spawning Murder of Horrors equal to the drawn fate on those tracks. So here we find track 3. I'm going to get a new stack. And track 5 is going to get a new stack. Oh, delightful. And then we're activating tracks 5 and 6. That's great. So that was track 5, and then we're activating 5 and 6. So a 2 stack or a 3 stack would normally move 3. It's moving 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're moving 1. And you're moving 1. Oh, great. This is potentially a huge problem. So we need the dice tower right back in shot. The most wanted mutation is dealing 3 hits to... Who is that? That's Norton of the Greenport Township. But he's got 3 close combat dice. Does 1 hit back, but blocks 2 and blocks 1, so he takes 2. And then the Murder of Horrors, that's a building area, so that's potentially 2 hits. He's going to be in rough shape coming out of this, most likely. Well, he blocks the 2 hits, but he still has to put a yellow cube in the biohazard bag. Because that's the thing that happens, and that was the 3rd card. We've now got a huge problem on our hands. We're going to have to deal with those. We're going to have to deal with all of this mess. Oh, 1 shield result is canceled in close combat. So I don't think he rolled anything against the most wanted anyway, so we're good there. We do have to draw for the biohazard, though. Replenish locations, actually, so that comes unexhausted. Two cubes. 1 green, 1 yellow. So we're still at, we're biohazard level 8, but we are definitely in trouble in this one. Okay, refill the turn order bag. Advance the turn marker to the morning of October 27th. I'm going to go ahead and calculate civilian points real quick, just to see if we're going to end this game right here. Our non-magic number here, we're at 11. Our non-magic number is 14. If we have 14 or fewer civilian points left on the board, game's going to be over because I won't physically be able to evacuate enough civilians. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So we're at 21 right now, but we're very much in a bad way heading into round 7. So let's see what happens in round 7. At this point, I'm expecting our last stand to be down here at the... What is that? At the bridge toll. Because we're very much in... We're in a world of trouble here. So, drawing out of the bag. We've got the Greenport Township. Alright, Crisis Adrenaline. I think we're going to leave everything as is. So LaFlamme's going to make a roll to try to repair the location at the Greenport docks. So here we'll find a fate number of a 4, which means we get to remove markers equal to the admin, which is a 4, so that removes the Greenport docks, which means we should be able to use that to evacuate now as well. Right. I'm just going to double check that. I'm pretty sure we can, though. Yep, I think we are going to go ahead and evacuate this 3 unit, which means so technically we actually would replace the units in the refugee camp, but I've been returning them to the box because I'm pretty sure we're going to lose this game anyway. We are evacuating the Walker family, so that's for LaFlamme, which means we go up to 14, which means now we have... So now we have 18 civilian points left on the board. And our non-magic number now is 11. At least I believe we have 18 civilian points left on the board. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 5 is 18. Yep, okay. So that was action 1. 2 is to evacuate. Action 3 is going to be... I think we're going to get... I don't think we have anywhere else we can put that Air Med chopper down, do we? Or the Coast Guard, for that matter. Probably not. Maybe I'll try to get these guys out. Yeah, let's do that. We'll head down to the police HQ to try to get them out. All right. So actually, that was we still have 3 actions. This is the last round. We'll have 3 actions. I think we can take one more action, and then I need to change my battery again. It's the Greenport Township again, so they're going to be done for the round. Adrenaline move. LaFlamme will move there. Yikes. Norton's stuck. Well, Norton... I think Norton's going to have to play Meat Shield there. Try to get some of those guys out of the way. And then House is going to Adrenaline move down here. Alright, for action 1, Norton's going to attack the Most Wanted in close combat. Get the dice out for that. Blocks one of the hits, takes 2. So blocks one of the hits, he takes 2, but he'll deal a hit to the Most Wanted. So he'll take 2, which means he's got 1 health left. That was action 1. 2, LaFlamme will crowd control. And 3 will move into 4. We'll move LaFlamme into 4K. Before we draw the next token out of the turn order bag, I need to change my battery again. All of the Gavany Township's tokens are out of the turn order bag at this point, so we're not getting any help from them this turn. Let's see what we draw here. We've got an event card, Joy. So let's see what our event says this round. The Hills Have Eyes. Spawn a Murder of Horror stacks directly into the Pine Barrens, Area 5A. Right now, stacks are still 3, which will be the last of our stacks. So any spawns mean we'll be increasing the overrun track by 1, I believe, no matter how short it is. That's not good. Okay. So now going into the bag we find. We've got a fate card. Wonderful. Here's where the problems are likely to start for us. Spawning on track 5, except we can't spawn anything there. So we increase the overrun points by 1 since we're out of tokens, right? Due to the lack of available tiles. Yep. Okay. So then we surge, which means now we activate the track number on the fate number twice. So we activate here. We activate 6 twice. Uh-oh. That's a huge problem because now... So now we need the Dice Tower and Shot. The Most Wanted's going after Norton. Actually, since they're both starting there, they both stay put, which is fortunate, but... Alright, so now we'll see what happens to Norton with the Most Wanted's attack. Deals 2 hits, which will be enough to take out the Murder of Horror, enough to take out the Most Wanted, but it's also going to take out Norton in the process, unless he... Actually, I don't think even if he blocks this. That would be another hit. Okay, so the Most Wanted's been taken out, but Norton's also defeated, which is bad, and then the Murder of Horrors will actually activate a second time. It was in the... You move? I think you do all movement, then all combat. When you surge, or when you activate a... all automatically conduct a close combat. Okay, that's at least the way I've been doing it, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that here. It's probably wrong, but as that's the way I've been doing it, I've been doing all movement then all combat just to make it a little easier on myself. But somebody smarter than I am will probably correct me on that. So we activate track 6 a second time because we had a surge, which means we'll activate the Murder of Horrors. I don't think I ever got clarification on... So at the moment... Oh, it contains no player or civilian units. Okay. So we still have to conduct a combat against Hartman, who's got 4 health on this. This is a... So we need to get rid of these guys. So this is potentially... I don't think there's a modifier there, is there? No. Let's see. Well, it's saying it's a clear area. There's nothing there, so I'm going to rule that it's a clear area, which means we're dividing by 2, so potentially 3 hits. Hartman's got 1 combat die at this. Great. Alright, so he takes 3 hits out of that. We are adding... I do need to add 2 yellow cubes to the biohazard bag, so 2 yellow cubes. Yikes. We've got big problems on our hands. If 6 activates again and takes out the... If 6 activates again and takes out Hartman, game's over, we lose. Let's see what happens here, though. Another fate card, so here's kind of the first of our many moments of truth. Reanimated, uh-oh. So we draw a fate number. We are drawing fate number 2. So we're adding 2 tiles to each, which we can't do. So we'd have to add 2 tiles to each of these 2 stacks. But since we're out, we had instead advanced the overrun by 2. So we're up to 5 overrun. Which I think I put that... Where did I put that overrun card? I think I must have put it straight in the discard pile. Okay, so now that we've got that sorted out, we activate tracks 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2. That gets discarded. 1 fate number. I believe, actually, it might just activate once. After applying the next time that track activates. Okay, so each horrors does. Okay. All right, we need a fate number for this giant stack. So we find a 1, which means that's moving there, and that's going to be a 3 space. Yes, so that's going to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that marker gets discarded. This one's going to move 1, 2, end up in combat with Drebin. 1, 2, 1, 2. Fate number 2, 3, 4. And then we'll end up with Drebin in combat. So we need 1 die. Drebin's got full health, but he's potentially taking... Okay, that's a house, so divided by 4. 2, 4, 8, 10, 11. Potentially taking 3 hits out of this. He's only got 1 die at this, though, which is not good. Blocks the hit, but he still takes 2 hits coming out of that. So that's not a great spot to be in. Alright, that was 1, 2, and 3, I believe. Oh, we need a... Right. Okay, yeah, we needed a fate number because we had a forked path. Okay, now that I've got that sorted out, we'll get that out of shot. That fate token's all done. We are in deep trouble here, folks. We've got one fate token left in both Plum Island Constabulary, but I think we're There's the Plum Island Constabulary. I can't afford to move Hartman away, because if that happens, we overrun the Great South Bay Bridge, and we just lose the game on the spot. Drebin's also not in very good shape right now. Yeah. This is not going well at all. We've got a mess on the board. I don't think we can really do much of anything right now. I think we just fall on our sword here at this point, honestly. We'll see if we can take it. We'll see if we can get lucky by a miracle down here to try to save the Great South Bay Bridge, but like I said, we're honestly just falling on our sword at this point. That's really the only option we've got right now. Yep, so that takes out Hartman. The Great South Bay gets overrun. Those horrors come off the board. We lose 6 overrun points, which is going to put us up to 11, and we are going to lose the game. That will do it for this playthrough of the Plum Island Horror. I did enjoy this one, even for how brutal it turned out to be in the end, but we'll probably give this one another go, see what I think of maybe working on a little bit more strategy, probably with some different factions too. But, again, that will do it for this playthrough of the Plum Island Horror. With baseball testing over, we might have a small chat about that later today, but I doubt it. My voice is still a little bit on the rough side, but I was able to get through this video, I think. As for the games, Wednesday we're going to have our first racing game on the channel ever, as we debut Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Next week we're going to play Game 2 on my TACUP Wargaming list, as we play the Hunters. As for Mystical Munchies, we're going to make the last recipe out of the official Halo cookbook, as we make the drink, Hot Chocolate. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.